Warriors, welcome back to Gods of Alliance. If you're here, it means you want power, knowledge, and control over the battlefield. This is not luck. This is strategy. Today, we are talking about one of the most dangerous and versatile heroes currently dominating hero wars. A hero capable of becoming a top mage, a top damage dealer, a scaling machine, a control tool, and perhaps most importantly, a hero capable of fitting into far more teams than many players realize. Today, we talk about Folio. And today, we break the game together. Folio is one of those heroes that initially looks simple. Small hero, small animations, small presence, and then, suddenly, entire teams disappear. What makes Folio special is not simply raw damage. It is the combination of scaling, control, copy mechanics, magic pressure, critical scaling, and flexibility. This is a hero that can work with multiple factions, multiple archetypes, multiple support combinations. And this is exactly why so many players are investing heavily into him. Let's start with what actually makes Folio dangerous. The first skill immediately shows what kind of hero we are dealing with. Folio creates a massive Inkblot above enemy teams. This slowly charges before crashing down and dealing area magical damage. And this is where many players underestimate him. Because this is not simply burst damage, the longer this survives charging, the more terrifying the impact becomes. This immediately creates pressure because enemies either survive the explosion or they don't. Ancient scriptures introduces something even more annoying. Control. Folio marks enemies with magical writings. This prevents movement. Then when the effect ends, additional damage hits both the target and nearby enemies. This creates excellent disruption against positioning-based teams. And perhaps more importantly, it helps create chaos inside enemy formations. Then we arrive at one of the reasons Folio became terrifying. Ink Copy. This skill creates a copy that inherits a massive amount of Folio's stats. Health, magic penetration, magic attack. And because many teams attack the copy, your allies gain bonus energy. This means Folio is not simply a damage dealer. He creates resources. He creates distraction. He creates additional frontline pressure. And once upgraded, this skill becomes absolutely absurd because now the copy can absorb damage for Folio himself. Suddenly, killing Folio becomes much harder. Then comes Curse of Knowledge. One of the reasons Folio scales so hard. For 16 seconds, Folio steals intelligence from enemies. This means he becomes stronger. Enemies become weaker. And eventually, all enemies get pulled together. And when you combine pulls with area damage, with scaling damage, things become extremely ugly for enemies. Now let's talk about why Relics transformed Folio even further. Echo Chant creates something extremely dangerous. Scaling. Every few seconds, Folio casts additional attacks. These attacks gain more critical chance and more damage, meaning longer fights almost always benefit Folio. The legendary upgrade pushes this even further. Now the damage scaling becomes stronger, meaning if enemies fail to remove him quickly, they eventually pay for it. The legendary version of Inkblot is simple. More scaling, more explosion damage, more punishment. This upgrade transformed an already dangerous ability into something capable of deleting entire teams. Then we arrive at legendary Ink Copy. This may be one of the biggest power spikes. Now the copy absorbs damage instead of Folio, can receive healing, can receive buffs. This dramatically increases survivability and makes focusing Folio significantly more difficult. Finally, know-it-all. Simple, brutal. If Folio has more intelligence than enemies, more damage. And considering Folio literally steals intelligence, this becomes extremely consistent. Now let's quickly talk builds. Intelligence. Everything scales from it, so it's mandatory. Magic Attack obviously increases everything Folio does, and without Magic Attack, there is no damage. Surviving is mandatory. Health becomes important because surviving longer means more scaling. Magic Penetration next. because damage means nothing if enemies resist it. Penetration overpower damage, even because it is a skin plus. Double effect. Then magical critical chance. Very important, because Folio naturally scales into crit territory. And finally, armor. Not exciting, but also useful. Depending on the talisman in use, this skin may gain more importance. Artifacts are extremely simple. Book first. Magic penetration plus magic attack is exactly what Folio wants. Ring second. Intelligence scaling again. Weapon third. Team-wide magic attack buffs create enormous pressure. Nothing complicated. Glyph priorities are also simple. Magic attack first. Intelligence second. Magic penetration third. Health fourth. Magic defense. Can you max everything? Yes. Should you? Also, yes. Because Folio scales extremely well with investment. Sparks of power? Maxed. As always. And now Talismans. Both very good. Can be used in different situations. First, Talisman. Intelligence. Magic attack. Overall scaling and power. Second talisman. Armor. Toughness. The opposite. Resistance and survivability. One for every occasion. Now comes the fun part. Gameplay. Because this is where players finally understand why Folio is everywhere. One setup I personally love uses Julius, Kayla, Aidan, Folio, and Byrna. This team works because Julius creates the safety net Folio desperately loves. Shields, protection, more time alive, and every extra second Folio remains alive means more scaling. Kayla creates immediate pressure. Enemies cannot simply focus Folio because Kayla is constantly threatening kills. Aidan provides sustain, and sustain becomes extremely dangerous because longer fights almost always favor Folio. Then Byrna enters. More damage, more pressure, more chaos. This creates a composition where enemies suddenly realize they are trying to survive multiple threats simultaneously. And usually, that becomes too much. Another variation I personally trust a lot uses Tempus. Tempus changes the rhythm completely because Tempus creates opportunities, delays, windows, moments where enemies simply cannot play normally. And when Folio receives more time, more casts happen, more scaling happens, more control happens. This creates something extremely frustrating because enemies often believe they stabilize the fight, only for another Inkblot to suddenly destroy everything. Then we can introduce Polaris, and Polaris brings something Folio loves: control, disruption, position manipulation. This combination becomes extremely dangerous because Folio already wants enemies grouped together. Polaris helps create exactly that. Now, enemies are stacked, grouped, controlled, unable to escape, and suddenly, area damage becomes much more devastating. Another setup includes Somna. And this is where things become truly uncomfortable, because now enemies deal with control after control after control. Sleep, disruption, pressure, copies, area damage, intelligence stealing, pull effects. Everything starts stacking. And what makes this scary is not one single mechanic. It is the combination. Enemies stop playing their game. Instead, they spend the fight trying to survive yours. Some players prefer faster aggression, less waiting, less scaling, more immediate pressure. For this, Julius, Electra, Byrna, Folio, Polaris works extremely well. This version creates much faster tempo. You pressure from the beginning. You create immediate magical threats. And because enemies must respond quickly, mistakes happen. This version is especially fun because Folio can start snowballing while enemies are still trying to understand where damage is coming from. You can also create hybrid variations, replace heroes, experiment, move pieces around. Because this is perhaps Folio's greatest strength: flexibility. You want protection? He works. You want aggressive magic teams? He works. You want control? He works. You want scaling? He works. You want hybrid compositions? He works. And this is why I personally rate him so highly. Because investing heavily into Folio rarely feels restrictive. You are not building one team. You are building possibilities. And that is exactly why these examples give me confidence. These teams bring victories. These teams feel reliable. These teams feel powerful. But most importantly, they prove something. Folio does not need one perfect composition. Folio creates opportunities everywhere, and that is what makes him terrifying. But here is something important. These are examples, personal examples, teams that bring me confidence, teams that bring me victories. This does not mean these are the only teams, because this is where Folio becomes truly special. You can move him, adapt him, experiment with him, and still find success. Very few heroes offer this level of flexibility. So what is the final verdict? Folio is absolutely one of the strongest mages currently available, one of the strongest damage dealers, one of the strongest scaling heroes, and one of the most flexible investments players can make. He provides damage, control, scaling, survivability, energy generation, distraction, and team flexibility. Very few heroes can claim all of this. Warriors, this is how we play the game. Not randomly, not blindly. With knowledge, with precision, with control. We don't build randomly. We build with intention. Master the mechanics. Control the fight. Let's break the game together.